Good morning. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside of Springfield, Ohio. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. And this right here is called the TNAM Daily Show. My ring lights are not giving me what I'm looking for right now. Have they been moved? Maybe they've been moved a little bit. It's a little better. This right here is the TNAM Daily Show, and you're watching it on the New American Media. Thank you so much for being here. On today's program, we're going to discuss the Clintons' cave on Epstein. What does that mean? In Congress, they're trying to pass the SAVE Act because it's obvious that you want your elections to be in person one day. Prove that you're eligible to vote. Cast your vote, go home. That craziness we saw in 2020, never again. Never again. I'm asking. We have stories about Maricopa County in Arizona. Oh, this stuff is going everywhere. Just buckle up. It's full speed ahead. Tulsi Gabbard going down to Georgia. Well, Tulsi went down to Georgia. Not the devil, but a devil of a fighter. Tulsi Gabbard, a very respected woman, going to figure out what's going on. How many foreign countries played a role in the coup of 2020? Oh, this is where I can tell you. Let me put it up on the screen. For countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. Go get your countervailing views to tell you all of the things. It came from a wet market. It was organic. It had nothing to do with NIH and Fauci funding in China. Nothing to do with China. It's just totally something that randomly happened with COVID, right? They totally didn't lie about therapeutics and hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and monoclonal antibodies and vitamin C drips and the Merrick protocol. No, they didn't push remdesivir and ventilation tubes and sliding people into caskets. No, none of that happened, even though it happened to my brother. And they want to tell you 2020 is the only free and fair election in the history of elections because it was so, how could it not be totally perfect? I mean, like all the courts ruled like in favor of it being perfect. No, none of the courts actually took the case. Everyone kept saying they didn't have standing. So with the social media overlords at my throat, pinning this to my temple, I have to tell you such drivel because they think you're a moron. I don't. You're here for a reason. You're here to unpack the news with me. We got a ton of stories. Not just going to cover that. We're also going to cover the situation in Minneapolis. Oh, yeah, it's still stupid. Guns drawn on another arrest. Our guest was it last week? Maybe it was a week and a half ago at this point. Ford Fisher with news to share. Caught a harrowing moment where they drew down on another car full of idiots impeding an investigation. You don't get to do that. We're going to cover that and a whole bunch more. Lots of news. And it looks like Ben Swan has a new report out. Epstein is Pizzagate. Yeah, you couldn't even say that because the social media overlords would take you down, censor your content. This morning, I had two conversations about legacy shadow ban efforts. There was a moment in time, it's been about 10 years, you weren't allowed to cover Seth Rich or Pizzagate or certain topics you weren't even allowed to mention. Of course you're allowed to mention it. I felt as though there's been a legacy boot on the neck of the New American Media for many, many years, restricting our content. we keep plowing through daily, Monday through Friday. We're going to give you the TNAM Daily Show, and we're going to discuss what's happening. One of the things happening, Marion says, remembering the day the music died. That's today? Buddy Holly, yeah? Ooh, I look just like Buddy Holly. But yeah, it feels as though there's been some legacy restrictions on our account because we always covered stories that we felt were underreported, inaccurately reported in 2020, whether it's COVID or the coup. We have been throttled. I mean, geez, 2020, they deleted our channels, censored our content, deleted our personal profiles, no opportunity to appeal, just absolute garbage. That's what we've been battling. And we're still going because we're right. We're still going because it matters. But it also matters to circumvent the system that they have built. Put it up on the screen here, scrolling at the bottom. We do exist. We do rely on your generosity, first-time viewer, long-time returning regular, whoever you may be. We're on Patreon at the New American Media. Please subscribe. It can be like $10 a month or $100 a month or $1,000 a month. Some of you have more money than time. And I've been giving more time than the money coming in for a long time. But I do believe in this mission. I do believe in my ability to find relevant clips and stories and add unique, original, transformative commentary on top of it to do the wide weave, as President Trump says. And there's a lot to it's all sort of connected. And it's kind of like, let me tell you about this to kind of explain that. And then let me get you there. I think we do something. We do things. Is it original? We do things in an original manner, in a unique, original way. We do them the way that my brain unpacks them, whatever that is. But your support lets me know that I'm on the right path with that. So please consider signing up to Patreon. And by the way, at least sign up to, we have a free account. At least do the free account if you're not going to drop $10 a month. And can at least sign up for the free one. That costs you nothing. But should we face a totalitarian regime that tries to censor our speech again, we revert back to these places. So Patreon is a great way to support us. Rumble and YouTube, you can sign up for a monthly subscription for like as little as $5 a month, I think. Thank you to the people who have. About ready to make another transaction to dump some of those funds into the operating expense to pay a bill that came through the business account. Like, it's all kind of connected. And that's why we ask you to bring some friends, tell some friends, share the show on X, send it on Facebook Messenger to somebody, say, hey, check out the show, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, join us at noon. It all matters. And while I'm bartending here, we're going to talk about all the stories up on the screens behind me. Try to get the angle right. Why can't I get the angle right? That's kind of across, and this one goes up. That's up, and that's across. There we go. We're going to talk about the stuff on the TVs behind me. But while I'm bartending, if anyone wants to throw a tip into the tip jar, we do have Rumble Rants and Super Chats. Rumble Rants are tips on Rumble, and Super Chats are tips on the YouTube channel. So, yeah, it's been a bit of well, thank you to everybody who has been with us the past 15 years, really, but for the past year and a half of the relaunch, the past 2 years or so of the relaunch. It felt like we were at an inflection point as a nation, and we had to go all in, absolutely all in. More content than ever, longer hours than ever, more research than ever, more travel than ever, going to all the conventions on the campaign tour. I think it mattered, for the record, that we went out and played a role in documenting what was going on out there, including our documentary on January 6th when we went out there 5 years ago for the coup. But yeah, thank you for supporting the show in those ways. And also the other 3 ways are PayPal. It's a tip jar that says fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com is the email address. Fuzzinstallment. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. As well as Venmo. Thank you for everyone who's dropped Venmo tips in there, because I'm just transferring that out to pay a batch of bills. It all matters. All of it matters. You get a bill for $900, a bill for $150, a bill for $200. Like, it's just, this is how it goes. This is life. I mean, you work, you do your thing. I work and do my thing, but I'm just like standing on the street corner playing guitar. My guitar case is open. I don't get paid to stand there. I get paid if anyone likes what we're doing. So please help us grow the show. Please tell a friend. What I say, Cash App is my name, Brian Engelman. And then the Venmo is just Brian Engelman as well, spelled correctly at the bottom of the screen. So thank you all for being here on today's episode. Buckle up, grab your coat. Oh, I guess let's do that. Just in honor of my, one of my, just a show that was super influential, a presence in the media landscape that was influential. Cheers to Mr. Scott Adams. If you would like to participate in this simultaneous sip in his memory, you know the drill. All you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip, and it happens now. Now, let's kick off the TNAM Daily Show.
Guide to the Truth, the new AmericanMedia.com.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's pull chat up onto the side. Hello, everybody. Marion says, yippee, I got my coffee cup today. Cheers to Scott, but my coffee was cold. I've learned to enjoy cold coffee. I mean, there is something different about grabbing a hot cup, I guess. I did make a batch, but I got all this cold coffee to go through first. So I don't know if I'm even going to get to it when it is warm. We shall see. Maybe I'll drink a bunch of it. But then if I drink a bunch, I'm trying to do a show. I don't need to be running to the restroom and back. Although I do a fairly good job of always being here when I'm here. I might need to go feed the cats. I might need to go do certain things. I've had to answer the door. I've had to take phone calls. Things occur. And I usually do a pretty decent job of handling that. Usually. But yeah, if you learn to enjoy coffee that's cold, you'll never be disappointed. If you learn to drink your coffee black without creamer or sugar, then you'll never be disappointed. It's a pretty fantastic way to just kind of, it's sort of like Gin Blossoms. If you don't expect too much from me, you might not be let down. One of the best lyrics ever written. I don't even know the vocalist's name. Gin Blossoms. Hey, jealousy. You can trust me not to beg and not to sleep around. And if you don't expect too much from me, you might not be let down. There's so much going on in that phrase. You might not be let down. I love that little disclaimer in there. So anyway, thanks for joining in the simultaneous sip in memory of Scott Adams. May he rest in peace. I've told you about my departed brother who made his way into the intro to this show today. And just said, the picture we use, there's him holding a wine bottle. He's a sommelier. And he's just smiling. And I just have this vision of him bartending. And everybody that departs, whether it's Ozzy Osbourne or Hulk Hogan or Scott Adams, I just imagine them walking through the pearly gates, and they come up to this establishment, and they walk through all the tables, and they sit down on the chair as my brother is sliding their favorite drink right to them. A perfectly poured whatever it is. So yeah, I imagine that Scott was handed some coffee with a simultaneous sip. So thank you all for humoring me with that. And speaking of thank you all, Patriot Warrior Texas, I see you on Rumble. I see you on Rumble, sir. $50 Rumble rant. Nimbus wants salmon. All right. Patriot Warrior Texas, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Nimbus wants salmon. I know Nimbus is he's an old man. He's 20 now. Bless him. His wheels aren't kind of what they used to be. He's still, you know, he's hanging in there. He's got his moments. You know, he's hanging in there. I pray to the good Lord that if he decides to take Nimbus at some point, that he does it peacefully in his sleep. We don't have to go through the same thing we did with my previous two pets that just deteriorated, and we couldn't repair them, and they just deteriorated. And, you know, as a final act of compassion and love, you had to ease their suffering and guide them out of this earthly realm, this experience. That takes a toll, man. Ugh, that takes a toll when you have to extinguish the life of someone you love. Astor, bless his heart, he got a big tumor that we couldn't. I mean, it wasn't even the stupid amount of money at the time that it would have cost for a mandible, like to remove his lower jaw and try to. I would have done it if anybody out there was really saying that it's likely, or it just that you could try it and put him through immense suffering, and it's just not high likelihood of working. I just said I don't see a value in trying that and putting him through something that might. So yeah, we had to take him in, and then Halo, bless his heart, Halo just got. We tried so many meds and so many. You just go back to those days, you know, those days of saying goodbye, and like the day before, and both of them just laying on the couch with them and just crying with them, telling them I loved them and telling them I was sorry. Yeah. My neighbor took in an animal, suffered from mange, and we trapped it and got it medication and got the cat healthy, and now it's looked like Yoda. We called it Yoda. Though the mange was that bad, and now bright, vibrant black fur. Call the cat Cleopatra. But the neighbor Amy in Los Angeles, she said, just the pain of losing a pet has made it so that she doesn't even want to try anymore. You know, and there's people out there, maybe some of you out there, you've been in a relationship and you're like, man, that ended like shit. I don't even want to mess with another person again. And you're like, I get it, but yeah, saying goodbye is tough. Whether it's my mom and my brother during COVID, thanks Fauci, thanks Biden. My dad did say at my brother's ceremony, if Biden wasn't in office, he believes that my brother would have received monoclonal antibodies. He would have got ivermectin. It wouldn't have been as stupid as it was. The doctors were terrified. The doctors had terrible information. The hospital was denying coverage, forcing remdesivir. Everything was a shit show, and they took my brother out, slid him into a casket, you know? Just dark days, you know? But there are lessons to be learned. I guess there are lessons as long as we follow through. You know, this Epstein Pizzagate stuff, we have been covering this for 10 years. Everybody has been talking about it. We've known about Hillary's laptop. We've known about comma ... It's really dark stuff. And things are coming out, but like, what is even coming out? Unsubstantiated claims, reports that the FBI didn't deem valid or credible. Like, what are we even talking about? There's a lot of that. So on today's show, we're going to get into that. And I'll do a similar prayer for protection that I did yesterday. But to wrap up the point I was making about Nimbus wants salmon. he has a very sensitive tummy. He has a very sensitive stomach. He's on a strictly fancy feast regimen. Dry food doesn't sit well with him. Treats don't sit well with him. And when I say they don't sit well with him, oh my goodness, they don't sit well with him. But luckily enough, Patriot Warrior Texas and the Rumble Rant for $50 donation. Thank you. Nimbus wants salmon. There is salmon fancy feast. And the fancy feasts are like $1 a can. A can or two a day, that gets me through like almost a month. See, like, that's how quick money goes, you know. $1 or $5 tip used to get you a whole bag of stuff at Taco Bell. Now it's like, oh, thank you. That'll be $48. Pull through. $48 at Taco Bell? Are you out of your mind? And as we look at the stock market, we look at the spot price of silver and gold. We look at people pulling out of the stocks, looking like they might try to intentionally crash the economy to try to blame Trump. What are we hurling toward? There's a lot to consider there, but yeah, the other final point on Nimbus, it was just like, you know, after going through just what we went through there, I've prayed to the good Lord that when it's his time, please take him gently and quietly while napping. Don't make me take him into an office and get an injection and have to be there with him, and he just extinguishes in front of you, and it's like, oh. So, yep. Started with an awesome $50 Rumble Rant, and it ended with all this melancholy. Oh, I'm going to ruminate on all of this loss, all because you said Nimbus wants salmon, and I'm like, I would love to give him salmon. It'll come out both ends of him, and it won't go well. Like, it just, but he can get salmon fancy feast. So yes, I will get him salmon fancy feast. Thank you, everybody, so much. All right, let's get to the news, shall we? Of course, can't have a news day without discussing the stupidity in Minneapolis, right? Allegedly, there was some sort of truce between Jacob Fry and what's that guy's name? Tim Walz. But alas, that seems to be bogus, not quite accurate. What is accurate appears to be that they're going to double down because they know they're facing treason charges, corruption, every charge you could imagine. It's not just like, how could you allow this to happen under your watch? You go, no. You were an active participant in this. We're not letting you go, I can't believe they did what they did. No, pal. You've been out there dancing and doing your little weird dance with your Somali flag and this little thing that you did with your little tight jeans and your little Jacob Fry. And here I am, I'm dancing for the Somalis. I'm a little trained monkey. You got the little cymbals and you just do the dance. Bro, you, Jacob Fry, you, Tim Walz, man, you guys are Ilhan Omar, the epitome of corruption. And guess what? They're saying 18% of all, what is the phrase? 18% of all medical billing, was it hospice bill? I forget the exact designation. Like a fifth of the nation's billing fraud is coming from California. And there's so much scrutiny there at this moment. It's overdue. But just don't think that the only problems going on in the country are in Minneapolis. They're everywhere right now. It's just a matter of unveiling it. What is Revelation? It's just the the apocalypse. Doesn't that just mean the revealing? Let's see. disclose, uncovering, lifting of the veil, hidden truths, often divine, cosmic, or supernatural knowledge revealed to a human through visions, dreams, or other worldly messengers. It's time to reveal all this stuff. So before we unpack all the terrible stuff of the day, let me just pray. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, creator of all things, as we dive into this Pizzagate garbage and Epstein and all of these corrupt, abusive government, demonic figures, let's see that vision up the pineal gland, up the chakras, out the pineal gland, and this part of the forehead, up above the nose, between the eyes, on the forehead. Shoot a bright light of radiant energy to protect us with a bubble, surround us with a protective bubble where your messengers, your angels can watch over us and protect the parts of our hearts and souls that die a little bit every time we hear of torture and abuse and demonic sacrifice and violence and loss of humanity as people sell their souls for temporary rewards on this planetary experience, this video game, this simulation, whatever this thing is. Continue to keep our protectors, our angels close to us. Visualize the protective bubble around our person, our home, our city, our state, our nation, this planet, this solar system, this galaxy. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, let's dig in. This is Anthony Cabasa. And this is where two people assault Daily Caller journalist Jorge Ventura. This is the lawlessness happening right now. Do you have a plan? Do you leave the house armed? Do you have tools? A multitude of tools. You should have more than one tool at your disposal. I encourage you to do that. So here they are. Watch it.
You can't assault me, dude.
Get in your fucking car.
You can't.
Get in the fucking car, man. No way.
So they're assaulting me and my photojournalist.
Being told, get in the effing car, man. You don't get to put hands on people.
Got it all on video. They actually tried to steal my phone, but unsuccessful. Hey, how you doing, man? You're right next to me. I can film you, buddy. It's a public sidewalk. So it seems like they're turning around the vehicle. I got one guy following me. Why did you try to steal my phone right now?
You gotta go. You guys gotta get out of here, man.
You guys got to get out of here. Funny, that's what ICE is doing, saying you guys that snuck into the country need to get out of here. That is a valid claim. This street justice crap is invalid.
Why'd you try to steal my phone right now, man? Why'd you try to steal my phone right now, man?
Yeah, I feel like you need to take his glasses off and his hat off.
Oh, get out of here, Toe.
Get out of here, so.
Driver. Here, let's just get out of here. Oh, no, he's pushing me, man. Go to me.
Get out of here. Can't assault me. Y'all need to get out of here.
Can't assault me, man.
Y'all need to get out of here.
Can't assault me, dude.
Y'all need to get out of here.
Can't assault me.
Get in the car and get out of here. Y'all need to get on out of here.
So they're assaulting me and my photojournalist. Got it all on video. They actually trying to steal my. You can't assault me, dude.
Get in your fucking car.
You can't.
What's happening? They are not, let's see, any rule of law out there in Minnesota? Yeah, you got a bunch of bums trying to push their will onto other people. It's violating that non-aggression principle. Speaking of, you have a right to be around. You can document. Blowing whistles is garbage, and assaulting and blocking roads. You can't do any of that stuff. That lady in Minneapolis did that. Hit an agent with her car. She was trying to get away. Number one, she's under arrest. You don't get to flee when you're under arrest. Number two, she did hit an agent with it. She blasted into him. And you watch the body camera or the cell phone footage. He was, whoa, pop, pop, pop. He didn't even finish grunting from being hit by a 4,600-pound vehicle. Pedal to the metal, spinning the wheels, and lurched and hit the agent. Fired what we thought were 3 shots. Apparently it wasn't. This here is allegedly, I don't know this guy, an Army sniper, Nicholas Irving. Speaking of Renee Good, she wasn't shot 3 times. It was actually one more than that. I didn't know that.
He was shot 4 times.
Oh, 4. Yeah.
4 times. It was originally said it was 3, but it came out that she was shot 4 times. Everyone hit. Do you think that that was overkill, though?
No, he did about the right amount. Like, in the heat of the moment, adrenaline's pumping. You're in fear of your life. You have a pistol, probably a 9mm. Yeah, you better shoot 4 times, like minimum. Hell yeah. I don't see nothing wrong with it. And if you want the vehicle to stop, whatever, or incapacitate, stop the threat, yeah, 3, 4, 5, sounds about right to me.
She was.
Does that sound about right to you? Do you agree or disagree with this guy? I'm going to go ahead and agree. Don't hit an agent with your vehicle. I haven't. That is a great way to avoid shots. Welcome to the bar. If you want shots, order some. Different kind of shots. And if you say, well, what about that other guy? Well, it was a bad situation. Don't recommend any of the choices and decisions that guy was making in the several weeks leading up to his demise. And it appears as though the gun that went off might have been a negligent discharge, which means he should have purchased a better handgun. It doesn't mean it's a justification to snuff somebody out. You know, that's like sacred. You can't just do that. I mean, unless it's a baby, then you can just snuff it out, right? Because that's like just a clump of cells. Charlie Kirk, you're a clump of cells. I thought I shared that video. I don't know if I played that. Did I play that a couple days ago? He goes, that's not a baby. That's just a clump of cells. He goes, you're a clump of cells. She goes, just that tennis interaction. Pow. Yeah. We don't want to see any more stupidity. No more bloodshed on our streets. It's stupid. Don't do it. And by the way, now you've had a year, 2,600 bucks? I think that's the number you get if you're an illegal alien who snuck into the movie theater and you're told to get out. Get out. Go back to where you came from. Get in line like everybody else. Go buy a ticket. Let's do a criminal background check. Let's scour your social media. Make sure you're not some goofy communist or some Islamic supremacist that doesn't value and respect our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Learn the English language. Pay the fees necessary. Wait in line while the other people are processed first. Then maybe you can come back. You've had a year to do that. Take the money and go. You know? But it sure seems like the control grid that loves giving you their version of what we got to repeat. Ice out, ice out, ice out. Yeah, we remember that. It was called, what do they call it? What was it with the police? Was it just abolish the police? It's the goofiest argument you could ever imagine. What was it? Just abolish the... I guess they're saying abolish ICE. What was that phrase where they were bashing cops? I don't know. But it's essentially the same thing. It doesn't make sense. You got 95% of the problems in a community being caused by 5% of the people. Get them off the streets. Like, I can't believe they had the 3 strikes you're out rule. Well, if you can't get along with people, man, I've made it I've made it a while. Mostly getting along with people, trying. But it's like the same idiots with no self-control that keep causing all the problems. You lose your free range privileges if you can't stop causing problems. But this is wild that this is what Hollywood wants to put out. Paul Joseph Watson did a report. And now I'm kind of thinking about this. Let's see. Let me ask Grok. Is Billie Eilish a CAA client? I used to work at their competitor, William Morris. No, they are not CAA. Okay, they're represented by William Morris Endeavor for music, touring, live events, film, and TV. Okay. She was with Wasserman Music, acquired her previous agency, Paradigm. Okay. All right. Well, didn't know if she was one of those mouthpieces, but try to unpack the logic here. Billie Eilish at the Grammys puts this thing out, but it's the most contradictory statement you could imagine.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
And there it is, the cynicism that lives at the heart of this leftist activist moral culture. She says the United States is stolen land, which is really a way of calling it illegitimate. This is the core issue we're facing. Never mind how absurd the statement is on its face. When you view the country as illegitimate, you're not making a coherent point. You're denying the authority behind sovereignty, borders, citizenship, and law.
That's a coup. That's a takeover if you deem it to be illegitimate. Remember, that's what they did to Trump. They called him illegitimate. They framed him. The grand conspiracy, the thing that Tulsi Gabbard has allegedly been working on. The grand conspiracy. Spying on candidate Trump. Framing President Trump. Perkins Coie, the Steele dossier. Michael Steele. Michael Steele? The Steele dossier. Was it Michael Steele? Or was that the guy on CNN that used to be the head of the GOP that I interviewed twice? Who was Steele? And then all the impeachments and just for 4 years trying to discredit his administration, calling him a Putin puppet. Russia meddled in the election. Russia rigged the election. Russia hoax. And they said Trump was illegitimate so that they could stall his agenda.
And treating all of it as contingent, something you invoke selectively and discard selectively when convenient. These people exhibit a form of cynical narcissism, public moral posturing to gain approval, selective adherence to rules, and a drive to profit and remain admired.
Okay, it was Michael Steele was the GOP guy. Christopher Steele was the guy that did the fake Perkins Coie, Hillary Clinton DNC hit piece, trying to frame Trump with lies.
They denounce stolen land while living off its benefits. They act like moral revolutionaries but won't abandon the system that bankrolls them.
Doesn't she have a mansion?
They monetize it. Look, if you think this land is stolen, then stop heavily benefiting from its advantages: celebrity legitimacy, financial stability, and the infrastructure that supports your success. These individuals also have very little clarity about what they're even arguing. For them, the world reduces to abstractions and semantics, so they keep repeating whatever phrase is trending. Everyone was a racist during Black Lives Matter, and now everyone's a fascist. When criticized, they reframe and relabel, moving definitions and goalposts while keeping the underlying accusation intact. And it's not just celebrities. Outside the spotlight, plenty of people echo the dominant narrative to stay socially acceptable. Here, virtue is used strategically to prevent backlash, with words tailored to maintain social and financial standing. Silence can be more damaging than disagreement, even if one privately holds different views and considers themselves progressive. Silence is seen as complicity, while speaking up serves as self-protection. Although this can align with genuine belief, in public status arenas, expression is influenced by social incentives. This is driven by psychologically motivated control, preserving reputation, both career and moral, rather than genuine endorsement. This behavior often results in reactive, excessively moralistic actions. So, to people like Billie Eilish, what's the plan? Because the more you keep delegitimizing this country, the more people will do what many of us did: wake up, step back, and walk away from the brainwashing. It's old and boring now. this nihilism, the self-congratulatory blank check for moral superiority, the hedonistic, histrionic slop that barely holds a sense of self together. We love this country because it has a strong sense of identity, and maybe that's something some of you really struggle with.
No one is illegal.
Oh, they're struggling with it. Yeah, is she going to give her house back to indigenous people? And these were nomads as well. They were migratory. The Bering Land Strait, the Bering Land Mass, the Strait, the Bering Strait. These were nomadic people. Oh yeah, it was totally their land. But it's not ours? How can something be stolen if you can't own it? It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, also, Lupin says Billie Eilish has obtained multiple restraining orders against trespassers and stalkers over the years. So does she have the right to maintain sovereignty over her property line? Don't we have the same right to watch over our border the same way? Of course we do. Of course we do. Here's that look you give when you hear that the United Nations is going to collapse without my tax dollars. Anyone else? Probably long overdue. Andy Frisella here, talking about what we want. You said you agreed with the last one. Question of the day, Marion. I agree. Marion says, I thought Billy, whatever the name, was a male. After looking at he, her, him, not so sure. You might want to check out other pictures of her. I've got 20 ways to talk about her breasts. I didn't plan on any of them until I read that comment, and I'm like, nothing that flashed on the screen of Brian, you should say these things. I'm like, none of this. I don't want to talk about a bikini. I don't want to talk about mommy milkers. I don't want to talk about well endowed. I don't want to talk about where she discusses wearing extra baggy clothing because she doesn't want people to pay too much attention to her gigantic rack. See, I don't want to say any of those things. But while her attire may be very odd, she appears to be very female. Unless that's cosmetically done, of course. Thanks for that detour. Do a simple Google search if you wish. Don't make me do it. Although it would add a little bit of spice to the show. Don't make me do it. Because now you know I might actually do that. Here's Andy Frisella, getting back on track, talking about what we want in America. Tell me if you agree or disagree here.
We want these illegals out of our fucking country, okay? That's a fucking American mandate. And these people are continuously creating disruption. Like, if they believed in democracy, the will of the people, then yeah, protest, but stay the fuck out of the way. You might not like it, but the reality is most of America wants it. And now we have this situation on social media where they're trying to flip the narrative like most people don't want it. Here's all these actresses and actors and all these people speaking out again. Did you guys not learn? Do you guys
No, they don't learn. They just keep going.
guys not learn that every single time that the fucking Hollywood actors get involved, that should be a clear sign to everybody that that's a fucking op?
They get their script and they read their script like a bunch of trained. I said trained monkeys before. Could be that. Like a pack of trained wolves. What am I trying to say? Like a pachyderm. A pachyderm. By the way, you made me do this. I didn't want to do this, but I'm saying this is Billie Eilish. If you don't believe she's a lady, she definitely appears to be very much a lady. If you care about such things, that's Billie Eilish. Can we please get back on track?
That's all they fucking do.
Yeah.
They are propaganda employees. That's what they do. We want
Propaganda employees. And we know that. Oh, can I not read this story? I guess I'll read it from here. Marion, nah, I'll trust you. Nope, sorry, too late. You got me going in that direction, so I'm just you did this to me. You did this. I didn't. She'll be complaining about her back hurting now. I blame ice. Can I get some ice on my back? Marion, not only are they not staying out of the way, directing traffic and stopping cars. Get out of my way. Oh yeah, I'll show you Ford Fisher's video. I'm texting with her. He's like, yeah, I'm going up here. I think he was in an Uber headed to the stupidity yesterday evening. Texting with him. He caught some interesting footage. Okay, I looked this up and I believe this to be accurate. According to what Grok told me yesterday. If I'm wrong on any details, I'm willing to consider that. But Lauren here shared this. Lauren Therese is a good follow on Instagram. But this says in 2009, 21-year-old model Gabriela Rico Jimenez, who reportedly was at a private or elite event in Monterrey, Mexico, was recorded on camera making disturbing statements, including they ate human flesh before being arrested. Authorities attributed her behavior to mental health issues. After this incident, she largely disappeared from public view. Years later, documents released by the U.S. Department of Justice related to the Jeffrey Epstein included an unverified allegation in an FBI FD 302 report, which a male accuser claimed acts involving cannibalism and the dismemberment of infants. The similarity between these claims raises difficult questions about how such allegations are evaluated, dismissed, or documented. But a more important unanswered question remains: who disappeared Gabriela and why? Do we know? Let me ask Grok. Gabriela Rico Jimenez. Let's ask Gabriela Rico Hernandez alive? Dark, dark, dark. No evidence. Widely regarded as having disappeared after her public outburst in August of 2009. Not publicly seen, heard from, or accounted for since. 21-year-old Mexican model. Filmed outside the Fiesta Inn Hotel in Monterrey, Mexico, in a highly distressed state. Oh, and she said involvement of people like George W. Bush? Police arrived, restrained her, took her away, attributing behavior to a possible mental health crisis or drug influence. Vanished from public view, no official records of release from custody, hospitalization, family statements. So no trace? Just gone? No obituaries or death records? Foul play, official sources, unknown, missing. Where is she? This appears to be a real story. No one knows. How can nobody... Anyway, be aware of this story. The Dank Knight says, your mom is in the Epstein files. That's a joke to everyone, except Zohran Mamdani. There are claims that Zohran himself, Mamdani the commie, is actually Epstein's kid. Don't know if that tracks, but that's being bandied about. By the way, it is February. I hope you have somebody in your life that you'd like to give a Valentine to. Lauren shared this, and I got to break it up with a little bit of chuckle from time to time. Hey, nothing funnier than a few thousand people being burned alive, right? This is a Valentine's Day message, a little Valentine for you. Jet fuel isn't hot enough to melt steel beams, but you are. Just a classic Valentine's Day joke about the New World Order. And if you get frustrated online arguing with people, just remember, the people you're arguing with, they told you this man was competent. So their opinion doesn't quite matter that much, does it? No, it does not. This is an interesting question. No evidence of this, but Prince Andrew, there's definite evidence of Prince Andrew being a creepo. So they ask you, what if Anna found out what Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein were doing? And she was going to tell the whole world, so they got her. I mean, what's this comment? She literally said her husband was going to fake the accident. Oof. Oh, Gherkin says, and I would have done exactly what Harry has done. Got out of there. This comment says, didn't she say the royal family were not human? God save the queen. She ain't no human being. Reptile chatter. Broadhead, pretty much, yeah, she was becoming vocal about the family who was doing behind closed doors. JFK's sister as well. Lobotomized for being whorish after speaking on the Rothschilds. Whoa. Man, oh man, I'm telling you, the rabbit holes that we go down in private and the stuff I don't talk to you about during my shows, there is no end. There is no limit. There is no doubt that what humans can touch, smell, see, and hear might be less than 1/1,000,000th of reality, says Brandon Boyd on an Incubus song from the album Science. Great album. All right, well, that's a nice what if. No evidence. I'm not saying it's true, but like, what if? And then some of these commenters just read the comment and go, oh, yeah. Oh, ew. Gross. What's really happening on this planet? Do we even want to know? Could we possibly know? Well, this seems to be relevant with the Epstein release. Joshua Hames says they joke about sacrificing children because they literally sacrifice children. Now, I'm not claiming that Stephen Colbert literally does this. Joshua Hames is claiming that, and I'm showing you what Joshua is saying. Okay, I do recognize this guy. August 1st, 2012, Stephen Colbert did a comedy skit on his late night show where he portrayed this.
I must appease him with the gift of a man-child. Come to me. I must feed you. I must feed you to the northwest.
This is a comedy bit.
Don't take him. Don't take the baby.
And he's going into the dark, fiery pits of hell to appease his demonic antichrist fake god.
The baby. Don't eat me. The baby.
Don't eat me, eat the baby, he says. This is hilarious. And he walks out. They're very cushy gig. Nothing to see here.
I'm sure the baby will be fine. Me!
Whew. Did you feel how dark that was? Yeah, Measure says there's absolutely zero scenarios where joking about child sacrifice is even remotely funny. Hey, here's a question. Do you think the God of the Old Testament is the God of the New Testament? The one demanding blood sacrifice and torture and abuse and slaughter and murder? Does that seem like a godly thing? Is that the same God? What say you? Oh, that's a good point. Hendrick says, does it feel like they're trying to desensitize us to this idea? Yeah. That's a good point. It says, April says, doesn't he usually have people in the audience? I don't hear many people laughing. That wasn't just some dark humor. This is actually pretty disturbing. I didn't hear laughing at all. Very little, if any. Samantha, the worship of Moloch is no ancient thing. They have to tell you what they're doing. Extremely disturbing. You get it. And I'm going to play you a Ben Swan report. He's going to do a deep dive into this. So we'll save some of that chatter for then. Whoop, cancel. Hey, when you meet another person who doesn't trust the government and agrees that those clouds are fake, you give them a wave. This was important, and I think it's important for some perspective on life. Why have I dedicated the past 3 years to this when I could have been dedicating this time to literally any other endeavor? There's something called an opportunity cost. Anything you do comes at the expense of the other opportunities that you said no to. And I was reflecting on it, how I had a I was reflecting on it. We'll just leave it at that. There are some things that feel mission-driven, purposeful, purpose-driven. Question of the day, not really sure about being the same or not. My jury has been out for a long time. But I felt purpose-driven, that there's something important here. And you tune in, you hang out every day. We chop it up. We talk about what's going on. There's some purpose there. There's something going on. There's some reason. Either everything matters or nothing matters. And I think to a lot of the Satanists, a lot of the demonic, it's sort of like nothing counts, nothing matters. It's very nihilist. They're nihilists, dude. They believe in nothing. Okay. They're nihilists, dude. All right. Or things do matter. And this one is not really current events or political, but this post says, and the Joker said, when we understand that each day isn't one more day, but one less, we'll start giving more value to the things that truly matter. And this is a conversation I've had with people close to me. Be it, well, just various versions of what matters. Does anything matter? Is any of this worth it? Is any of this worth my time, my energy, my sanity, my frustration, the arguments, the vitriol? Does anything matter? And I say things do matter. What was that quote that Charlie Kirk used all the time? Here I am, Lord, send me. What is that? Let me pull that up. Here I am, Lord, send me. What is that quote? Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, here am I, send me. Here am I, send me. So if you view each day, instead of being, here's one more day, instead think of it as, here's one less day. We'll start giving more value to the things that truly matter. And if there is a cabal of satanic cannibals out there that are harming people, reading into these Epstein files, it is disturbing beyond belief, which is why we pray for that protection around us so that we can, the darkest facets of humankind, the darkest shadows, people need to be out there in police and doing things nobody wants to do and absorbing content that will just destroy your soul. So you got to put your armor on so you can go into battle. Yeah, if there's one less day, well, what would have mattered? Exposing some of this stuff? We're just begging to get to the bottom of it. Any arrests? Pam Bondi, we're talking to you. What, we got to wait till the midterms and then unleash hell? Really? We can't do this now? There's not enough? I don't know. But I think it matters. I think this stuff matters. Just a friendly reminder that this is a perfect month. February is literally so perfect. You don't see them laid out like this often anymore. Something to look forward to. I guess they come around every 11 years and then every 4 years. So it can be 4 years from now, then 11/11, or 11/4/11, or 11/11/4, because of the leap year. You get a February that looks like this every 11 years or every 4 years. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. Didn't we used to have hold on, let me pull that up. We used to have a 28-day, 13-month calendar. Do you even know this? That's synced up with the menstruation cycles of the female womb and the body and the moon. And okay, so no, humanity as a whole. I didn't say humanity as a whole. Grok, 13-month calendar with 28 days. Lunar influence, occasional 13 months for alignment. "13 months at 28 days is 364 days, exactly 52 weeks. Why aren't we on that schedule? Doesn't that make more sense? That feels like it makes sense. What is the missing month? What was the name of the missing month? Saturna or something? Gregorian calendar, international fixed. The Sol? January, February, March, April, May, June. Sol, July, August, September, October, November, December. The Gregorian dates for consistency. Anyway, it's a great month. Guys, I gotta talk about non-Epstein related things from time to time. I gotta cleanse the palate, if you will. I gotta eat a bit of ginger. Cleanse the palate, go in for your next bite. Isn't that good though? Marion says that's a great quote. Each day is one less. Yeah, my brother has been gone for like 3 years or something now. 1,000 less days. NRA certified instructor, sommelier, great dude. So stupid that he's gone. So pointless. And I think it was. I think that was the catalyst for me to say what really matters. And what really matters is if there's a God and we meet that maker on the other side, I want to be able to look that maker in the eye and say, I tried. All right, this is pretty great. April Silverman, Cali MAGA Barbie shared this. An AI message from Bad Bunny to the president.
I just want to say muchas gracias to el presidente Trump and ICE for deporting all these illegal aliens and for pepper spraying all these white liberal crazy fat bitches.
It really is an epidemic of angry white liberal females, lunatic females.
Mucho loca muchacha. Anyway, everyone in this room is a retard, except for Jelly Roll. You're cool. Everyone else can kiss both sides of President Trump's big, beautiful ass. Muchas gracias, bichachos. I just
Muchos gracias, bichachos. I don't think that's a word. Okay, that was kind of funny right there. All right. Buckle up. This is it. Jeffrey Epstein is Pizzagate. Ben Swan says 10 years ago, Pizzagate was by far the #1 trending topic on Twitter. But the claim of pedophile elites who preyed on children was so insane that Pizzagate was shrugged off as a wild fever dream or of a conspiracy theory. But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade. The Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but the child trafficking rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist. Tonight, I want to remind you of what I told you then and compare that to what we have now learned, says Ben Swan. You see Ben Swan in the intro to the show that to the TNM Daily Show. We interviewed him at the United We Stand Festival, I believe.
Epstein is Pizzagate. Let that sink in for a minute. Jeffrey Epstein is Pizzagate. 10 years ago, Pizzagate was by far the #1 trending topic on Twitter. But the claim of pedophile elites who preyed on children was so insane that Pizzagate was shrugged off as a wild fever dream of a conspiracy theory. I was the first mainstream reporter to dare give the facts surrounding Pizzagate. My corporate career was destroyed over it.
Yeah, we talked about it. Our YouTube channel was destroyed for it. Our Twitter channel was destroyed for it. Facebook was destroyed for it. Instagram destroyed for it. Yeah. They got big worried that this story was going to come out for some reason. I wonder why.
So what? My professional reputation was obliterated. That wasn't fun. And I wasn't the only one. Anyone who dared to suggest that this might be true was blacklisted, shadow banned, or thrown off of social media.
Yep.
But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade, that Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but that child trafficking
Right. That was never, that was fixation on the wrong key point.
rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist. Tonight, I want to remind you of what I told you then and compare that to what we have now learned.
Pizzagate. It became a major story weeks ago when an armed man decided to investigate a D.C. area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate?
Well, the story that came to be known as Pizzagate did not begin with a rumor, nor was it created by Macedonian sheep farmers, as CNN actually once claimed.
Hold on. CNN once claimed that Macedonian sheep farmers were behind this? I missed that part. No, this starts with Podesta, one of the highest ranking Clinton associates ever.
It began with WikiLeaks, authentic, verified emails taken from the phone of the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, John Podesta. Those emails were real. In all these years, by the way, no one has actually disputed that. Inside those emails were communications that struck a lot of people, not just online commentators, but researchers and former law enforcement, as unusual to say the least. References to pizza and to pizza handkerchiefs and to maps, to private gatherings involving powerful people, some very bizarre stuff. In fact, the first people to draw attention to those emails were a group of self-proclaimed pedophiles on 4chan and 8chan who claimed that Podesta was using the same terminology that they use to speak in coded language. And in researching those emails, I found a 2010 entry into Urban Dictionary. It's still there, by the way.
2010 entry. You said this was from 20. I'm confusing the date. Was it 20? What year did this come out? For the past 10 years, you're saying it was 2016? And then I was showing you the Colbert thing from 2012. Okay.
It confirms that cheese pizza is a commonly coded term for child pornography.
Gross.
CP.
I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains...
You're kind of cropping it out so we can't see it here, but
The same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They removed the triangle.
oh yeah, the Wayfair scandal too. I forgot about Wayfair.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I was called a dangerous conspiracy theorist and a madman for claiming that pedophiles and possibly even pedophile elites might use coded language, even though it was online pedophiles who said that's exactly what they do. Which brings us back to this new Epstein release, because
We've had days to chew on this and sort it out.
in it, the word pizza is mentioned 911 times. That's right, 911 times adults are emailing back and forth about slices of pizza and about pizza parties. And the word pizza is often paired with grape soda in bizarre contexts within emails addressed to Epstein by individuals whose names have been mostly redacted. So here's one. Quote, "This is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one else can understand." Or this one. "Mr. Epstein would like to see the menu from the pizza place. Could someone send it, please?" Or this one from
This comment, remember all the fuss about Hillary's emails? This is what she was hiding. Well, we know about Hillary's laptop and Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner, and well, it's enough to get you a little bit frazzled, if you know.
From 2014, "Sit down, because I know you won't believe this. Are you sitting? Jeffrey says he wants to go out to a pizza place with you. He did not mention a particular pizza place, but he knows you are in the know on this," with a little winking emoji. All of the emails that I just shared with you were from 2014, right about the same time period of the John Podesta emails that WikiLeaks published and started the entire Pizzagate saga.
Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember,
Yeah. This is stuff that my brother and I were heavily discussing and researching, and we formed different research groups, and it's everything you, and it's so much worse.
it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago.
Speaker of the House.
Yeah, well, speaking of the Podesta brothers, again, there was no direct evidence of them being involved in child sex trafficking from those emails. But as we pointed out at the time, there was a lot of bizarre communication, including an email from John Podesta to his brother Tony. The subject line, "Last night was fun," and the first line reads, "Still in torture chamber."
What?
Email got really no attention 10 years ago, but today, a 2009 email from Jeffrey Epstein is getting a lot of attention as it asks, "Where are you? You okay? I love the torture video."
To the fallout from the latest release of the Jeffrey Epstein documents, they include communications between the rich and powerful, from the co-owner of an NFL team to billionaires like Elon Musk.
CNN teams are carefully sifting through the largest, and what the Justice Department says is the last, batch of Jeffrey Epstein files.
Friday's release of millions of pages related to Jeffrey Epstein provided a closer look at his connection to world elites from Hollywood to Washington, Wall Street to Buckingham Palace and beyond.
Yeah, well, all those so-called news anchors and their newsrooms for a decade blacklisted this topic. They conditioned you to live in ignorance. They called it a conspiracy. They called me and so many others dangerous for even looking.
For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this, not from
Doesn't that seem strange?
local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
Did you mention James Alefantis yet?
Well, 10 years later, no investigation ever took place. It's a failure of a complicit government and also of a corporate media that didn't just ignore this evil. They helped to cover it up and keep it operating in the shadows. See, by refusing to engage honestly in 2016, by choosing mockery over investigation, by silencing questions instead of asking them, they created the very environment where this evil could thrive. See, they didn't kill bad information as they pretended. They guaranteed it would survive. See, I wasn't censored the way that I was because my reporting was false. I was censored because it was dangerous.
You know, I had somebody, I saw a piece of content that was pretty interesting. I'm like, hey, we do a show at noon if you want to jump on. Like, I'd love to play your piece and talk to you about it. Like, it was just well put together. It was like an Ice Baby video. Guy responded back with a really I'll keep that. Never mind. But Ben Swan was dragged through it. The censorship and the shadow banning. You know, we interviewed John McAfee the day that the Vault 7 data dump was released, and he had a quote, "The CIA just got nuked." We got 130,000 views in like an hour or two, and then our channel got zapped. We haven't been the same since. But there have been stories. This being a key one. Seth Rich being another. You can mark serious moments where you watched the viewership drop to where almost nobody is even aware that our show exists, where people can't even see it. Instead of increasing in membership numbers, you'll see it decrease. It doesn't make sense how our social media operates for the new American media. That's something I don't fully understand, the level of legacy throttling to the account, the accounts that we have. But Ben Swan went through it, and I am here to tell you all, my God, did we go through it too. So if you're going to try to judge what we're doing or not doing solely based on what I consider to be fraudulent numbers, manipulated numbers, shadow banned, throttled, censored numbers, and frankly, I think there's a lot of inaccurate numbers, views not counting, subscriptions disappearing, etc. You know, if nothing else, I've been able to prove consistency, track record, and prove me wrong. We'll put our batting average up there with just about anybody. I think we got one of the best batting averages in news. Sure, we could get things wrong. We could misremember. We could forget about it. Sure, fine. These are all forgivable sins. But when you're intentionally misleading, intentionally being deceptive, misinformation, disinformation, that type of stuff, when you're doing that kind of stuff, that's something different.
Dangerous to narratives, dangerous to reputations, dangerous to a media culture that had grown comfortable acting as a gatekeeper rather than a watchdog. See, the unspoken rule was simple. Some questions are not allowed. Not because they're wrong, no, but because they lead to the truth. And the truth? Pizzagate. At least in the form of a cabal of elites and powerful people who delight in the physical and sexual abuse of children, is real. Remember how we started. Epstein is Pizzagate. But the other reality it's time to accept, Pizzagate is much more and much bigger than just Jeffrey Epstein.
Man.
Epstein.
This person posted a picture of Michelangelo eating pizza. Smooth says, they were telling us all along. Think about it. 4 reptiles raised by a rat who loved pizza live underground and always covered up by the media. Oh my God. Well, thank you, Ben Swan. I mean, we learned pretty quickly you can't talk about that subject in public, so we doubled down discussing it in private because you're not going to get away with this shit. You're not. The jig is up. Your time is up. It's all over. It's time for the I keep calling for the National Apology Project. I want to hear from people who are going to apologize. Tell us what they participated in and who put them up to it and who was there, and apologize. It's time for a National Apology Project. Sooner the better, methinks. But yeah, man, this is dark days on this subject. But Ben Swan did a really good job breaking it down then. Does a good job with it now. All right, let's pivot to Jeanine Pirro. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro on Fox News says, if you bring a gun into the District of Columbia, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail and hope you get the gun back. Huh?
You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back. You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back. You bring a gun into the district.
All right. So you're getting in that insane loop where something on Instagram will play 45 times if you don't tap it and you're in the middle of something and you're like, oh, okay. We said this might be the worst comment on the Second Amendment of all time. We tagged the President of the United States. It's time to fire her and institute constitutional carry reciprocity. Reciprocity already. We have rights. And Judge Jeanine doesn't understand. What an awful statement. Yeah. What an awful phrase. She comes out later trying to defend herself, but yeah, we said, what the F? We don't generally swear on our Instagram, but that called for a what the F. You out of your mind, lady? And this one's kind of funny. Who's this person? Hera says, lately, there has been too many days in a row. Lately, there has been too many days in a row. I just love those goofy little quips. One of my favorites. All right, let's share this tab instead and go through our X account. Make sure you're following us at American_media_. Tell a friend, share the show. Yeah, April of 2011 is when we started. We've been at this for 15 years, people. And despite their best efforts to shut us up, he ain't shutting us up. That ain't happening. Deal with it. Thanks for coming along for the ride. All right. Let's scroll through. Right, here's our Patreon page. Please subscribe to our free Patreon, or if you want to sign up to do $10 a month, $100 a month, or $1,000 a month, those are options. So please consider such. on Patreon at the New American Media. What was I just going to look up? I was going to look up, let me check one more thing about the insights. Past 30 days, where are we at? 13? How would it be 13? Oh, no, that makes sense. 15? Why would it be 15? I'm confused. Checking something here. Yeah, there were 2 in the month of January. So why would that be? Oh, okay. That does make sense. Okay, I think we've stabilized. Okay. There's something happening in Springfield, Ohio. They're allegedly removing the temporary protected status for all sorts of people that were shuttled into America to try to remake the fabric of this country with people who don't share the same values, don't share the same ideals, don't speak the same language, probably brought in for voting demographic blocks. Just waiting for the day you could wave a magic wand and grant some mass citizenship like they did in, I think it was Spain with 500,000 people, to replace the air quote far right to outvote them, which is madness, pure treason. Mass Daily News reminds us this is a Boston area woman thrilled after taking in a Haitian migrant. I with no additional comment.
And it's really fun having them. What I realized is there's so much prejudice against refugees, mostly because people don't know them.
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking. Te gusta?
I guess it wasn't in her words, but it was in the other lady's words.
Like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking.
You bring in a Haitian migrant so you can have your own personal chef. Huh, kind of sounds like, what's that word? What's that practice? What's that thing? Sort of sounds like advocating for modern slavery. And it sure seems like that's what the Democrat Party's been all about, all the child trafficking. Why would you traffic hundreds of thousands of kids? Where are they? Found 1/3 of them, found about 100,000. There's 200,000 missing. How many of these children will never be found? There is no amount of disdain that would be too much for what that farce of a Joe Biden campaign of terror did to this nation. Hundreds of thousands of missing trafficked kids in literal slavery right now. But hey, it's like having your own personal chef. Oh, is it?
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking.
Yeah, well, doesn't that seem a little like, Leon, I got to get me ones of them. Yeah, it's almost like the Democrats have always been the Democrats. You know, the party of the KKK, like nothing has ever really changed with them. You know, the ones that shriek the loudest and hurl the most ridiculous insults. They're almost telling on themselves. You protesteth too much, perhaps. Certainly what it seems like. Phil Labonte says the fact that Ketanji Brown Jackson stood and applauded when people were shouting "Abolish ICE" at the Grammys last night should be enough to get her removed from the bench. If people are screaming "Abolish ICE" and you're standing and clapping in approval, shouldn't that be enough to get you removed from the Supreme Court? Agree or disagree? kind of agree. It says breaking 911, a Washington, D.C. based federal judge, Anna Reyes, a Biden appointee, has blocked Department of Homeland Security from ending temporary protected status, TPS, for more than 350,000 Haitians in the U.S. Why did we bring 350,000 Haitians in? For what purpose? Why? When was that voted on? When did we have a conversation about how that would benefit America? What requirements? Learning the language, staying off of welfare, contributing, passing background. Where were any of the conversations about this? But nope, here's 350,000 Haitians. We're just going to do that. We're just going to dump 40,000 Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. President Trump, around that time, he told us, he said, sir, they're eating the hot dogs and they're eating the Kit Kats. So the 350,000 Haitians in the U.S. whose legal protections were set to expire tomorrow have now been, blocked in a move that would have left them vulnerable to deportation and a loss of work authorization. Yeah, if a judge anywhere can block every presidential order everywhere, we do not have democracy. We have tyranny of the judiciary. Tim Poole says, how is it even possible? Temporary protected status expires. What authority does she have to extend it? Exactly, says Tim Poole. Danny Ferguson says, this is why I support ICE. Mine is number 6 on the top row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right here. Instead of El Paso judge releasing him to ICE to get him deported, this illegal alien, they let him go on a bond for aggravated assault, and then he killed my daughter a week later. Prayers to that family, and shame on this whole system that's allowed any illegal alien invader to stay here. Shame. 0 Hour 1 plays us this clip from Pam Bondi.
Own words, they were on their way to a resistance at that church. And that's exactly what they did. They had a resistance operation. They barged in that church. There were originally about 400 people in that church. The video you're now showing, a lot of them ran out the back door. The lucky ones were able to get out. These people will say these parishioners thought they were going to get shot. One of the people with Don Lemon screamed, quote, "This ain't a house of worship. This is the house of the devil." There were children crying. There were parents blocked from getting upstairs to take their children out of Sunday school. A group of women ran out a side door. Multiple people fell on the ice. One woman severely damaged her arm, had to go to the hospital. Don Lemon blocked someone from going out that door. They were screaming at parishioners. It was horrible. No American, we don't live in a third world country. We live in the United States of America, and you will have the right to worship safely and freely in a house of worship.
So let's keep our eyes peeled. I know they've granted Don Lemon the ability to go on his vacation. They let peaceful J6ers rot in prison. I know Lake Leon say, oh, STFU, Pam. Everybody's so frustrated with her lack of action. Cat Turd says they arrested 2 more of these goons yesterday, and they're going to find and arrest them all. Good job. All right, Chuck Schumer says the SAVE Act would impose Jim Crow-style restrictions on voting. It will be dead on arrival in the Senate. Huh? What a terrible thing to say. Mike Lee says this is absurd slander against the SAVE Act. Americans use ID every day to drive cars, purchase alcohol, tobacco, or firearms, travel on airplanes, conduct financial transactions, and a host of other things. Democrats are terrified of secure elections. Why? So let's see. JFK Center for Performing Arts in D.C. disclosed that it received $270 million in federal funding since 2016. Including a $25 million coronavirus earmark, most likely used for payroll. Look at all these people, 1.3 million, 500,000, 430,000, just laundering all the money that's supposed to be fixing the building and just giving it to their friends. Kennedy Center to stop paying National Symphony Orchestra despite $25 million in coronavirus aid. Mike Cernovich says, look, the Kennedy Center required multiple bailouts over the years. It existed to enrich the non-governmental organization set. They took in tax money and paid themselves and their friends millions upon millions of dollars. How can you not know basic things? Or do you know and just lie? Aaron Rupar is one of the biggest liars out there. James Sorowicki says, amazing, everything he touches falls apart. He keeps going, leaving disaster in his wake. No, it's not it at all. President Trump says after a one-year review of the Trump Kennedy Center that has taken place with contractors, musical experts, art institutions, and other advisors and consultants, deciding between either construction with closure and reopening or partial construction while continuing entertainment operations through a much longer period of time, working in and around the performances, I've determined that the Trump Kennedy Center, if temporarily closed for construction, revitalization, and complete rebuilding, can be without question the finest performing arts facility of its kind anywhere in the world. In other words, if we don't close, the quality of construction will not be nearly as good. And the time for completion, because of interruptions with audiences from the many events using the facility, will be much longer. The temporary closure will produce a much faster and higher quality result. And you can say a lot of things about President Trump if you want, but if there's one thing he knows, it's renovations. Based on these findings and totally subject to board approval, I have determined that the fastest way to bring the Trump Kennedy Center to the highest level of success, beauty, and grandeur is to cease entertainment operations for an approximately 2-year period of time with a scheduled grand reopening that will rival and surpass anything that has taken place with respect to such a facility before. Therefore, the Trump Kennedy Center will close on July 4th, 2026, in honor of the 250th anniversary of our country, whereupon we will simultaneously begin construction of the new and spectacular entertainment complex. Financing is completed and fully in place. This important decision, based on input from many highly respected experts, will take a tired, broken, and dilapidated center, one that has been in bad condition both financially and structurally for many years, and turn it into a world-class bastion of arts, music, and entertainment. Far better than it has ever been before. America will be very proud of its new and beautiful landmark for many generations to come. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So yeah, they're fixing it and they're reconfiguring it. I'm happy with that. But the Trump derangement syndrome people are trying like hell to find something to make Trump look stupid about. I don't understand why they waste a single moment on this. There's one guy that understands taking a building and making it better. Yeah, if you mean better, you mean making it gaudy with gold. Okay. So here we go. Liz Harrington put this out. A couple of posts. An official in Fulton County, Georgia, announced the county will challenge the legality of the FBI's search and seizure of 2020 election records. Oh, well, Commissioner Marvin Arrington Jr. says the effort will seek to force the government to return the ballots taken. They got copies of our voter rolls and all the original ballots. Now we cannot verify that we've received everything back because there was no chain of custody inventory taken at the time of records were seized. You've got to be kidding me. Liz Harrington. Fulton County is suddenly worried about chain of custody when there is zero chain of custody for all of its 315,000 early votes in 2020, where the machine seals were broken, results, air quote, were printed out on different machines and not signed or sworn to. They are terrified. Good. As they should be. Camilo Montoya Galvez says breaking, this is about federal judge Anna Reyes blocking Trump admin, ending TPS of 350,000 Haitians. In a scathing opinion, she says DHS Secretary Kristi Noem does not have the facts or law on her side. AG says, putting aside the politics, the idea that an administration cannot end temporary protected status is obviously nonsense. This is pure judicial activism. The previous extension ends tomorrow. There is no legal requirement for the administration to continue extending temporary protections. That seems obvious. Ricky Gervais says some people said my banned billboards were crass and unfunny and offensive, boring, pointless, and nothing to do with vodka. Well, anyway, welcome to our new 170,000 subscribers, Dutch Barn. This series of ads says, welcome to London. Don't forget your stab vest. I mean, London has been mismanaged into a shithole. If you don't like dogs, you can fuck off. Dutch Barn Vodka. I think that's referring to the Islamic supremacists who hate dogs, who have invaded London. Jeez. And these are at the train stations. This ad says, don't jump onto the tracks. You'll make everyone late for work, you selfish prick. Yeah, there's some pointed comedy from Ricky Gervais. Check in on Maricopa County. Brandon Straka Walkaway says the audit director of Maricopa County says officials could not produce chain of custody records for 2.1 million ballots from 2020.
The Maricopa County audit director is saying that the Board of Supervisors has yet to provide the proper chain of custody documentation for the 2.1 million ballots from the 2020 election. Ken Bennett, who is a former state senator president and chief of elections officer for the state of Arizona, said that the county has not provided the chain of custody documentation for the time period between the November election and the day they delivered the ballots to the forensic auditors at the end of April 2021. Mr. Bennett asserted that he has been asking for weeks for the documentation for that specific time period, but instead the county only provided the chain of custody documentation for the transport of the ballots from the warehouse to the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, which took place on April 21st and 22nd. Mr. Bennett said that the chain of custody documentation for the 5-month period he's been requesting is very important and needed to make sure ballot security was maintained.
Was it maintained?
We still haven't received, as far as chain of custody, is the documentation of the chain of custody between when the ballots, boxes with ballots in them, started to be filed away in their warehouse between the election and April 22nd is kind of the questions that we still haven't seen any chain of custody documentation. There was a pretty famous tweet with a picture of 8 or 10 pallets that seemed to be loaded in the back of a truck that was tweeted out shortly after I think the court decided that your subpoenas were legitimate, and it seemed to be tweeted out by the chairman of the Board of Supervisors saying that we have these ballots ready to deliver. We would have liked to and still would like to see the chain of custody documents between November and April to see if that type of an event is on those chain of custody documents, but it's the chain of custody between November and April that we haven't received.
In addition, Mr. Bennett said when 46 pallets of those ballots were delivered on April 22nd, there were many organizational issues that caught his attention.
Mr. Jarrett and I personally inspected all 46 pallets and all 1,681 boxes. We had, for example, 26 boxes that were mismarked on the manifest. Found 8 boxes that were on the pallets but not listed on manifests. 1 on pallet 12, 4 on pallet 22, 2 on 38, and 1 on 41. We did find a couple boxes that were listed on the manifests but not on the pallet. That was on pallet 40. Then we found 3 boxes listed as being on pallet 43, but they were actually on pallet 45.
All right. There you have it. Bring it all out, please. Brian Cates says this is not an accident. They deliberately did that so Biden could, air quote, win the state by less than 11,000 votes. We shall see. I haven't been able to confirm that yet, but I mean, seems super obvious to me. Sean Davis says new polling shows midterm election voters overwhelmingly support mass deportation of illegal immigrants and oppose Democrat efforts to defund or abolish ICE. Deporting illegals, 61% support. Using ICE to deport illegals, 54% support. Shutting down the government to defund ICE, 58% oppose that. Sources Signal, CYGNAL. Katie Pavlik says the screaming from failed blue state leaders and demands from their professional agitators to stop Trump's popular deportation agenda should be ignored. I agree. Josh Kroshar says the Kennedy Center is not closing because of any structural necessity. The situation is far simpler. This is a self-inflicted crisis created by Trump and Rick Grinnell for which they bear full responsibility. Derp, 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 derp. Richard Grinnell says, I asked the Post reporter if she knew what debt reserves were. She didn't. She was reporting on an arts institution in financial crisis, paying staff with debt reserves, and didn't even know what that meant. Reporters don't care that they don't know the subject matter they report on. Okay, so that's the Trump Kennedy Center. Ilhan Omar says, abolish ICE. There's no reforming it. There's no compromise. I'm not doing her accent right. I got to work out. There's only one way to rein in ICE's terror campaign. Abolish it. Dana Lash says, you stole from American taxpayers via your campaign donations. You looked the other way while billions more were pilfered in your state. You should be deported. That feels right. Kim Katie USA shares this. ICE agents roll up to the park like pros, step out, cuff an obstructionist while another agent stays on point, tossing flashbangs at the rabid responders, trying to intervene. Pure execution, loved every second. Blah!
Stop!
Screeching hyenas.
Stop! Stop! Oh, you fucking coward! You cowardly little bitch!
I got a problem with how they're not getting him cuffed quickly enough. It doesn't happen fast enough. Then again, if there's only two of them against a mob of 80.
Coward! Shame on you! Shame on you! Fuck you! Couple of big guys right there. Big man. Get out of here. You guys just have some sort of fucking pamphlet, you piece of shit. Let's fucking go.
There you go. Happy arrest, pal. Louder with Crowder wants to, Jake Tapper says quite an opinion in an order from U.S. District Court Judge Fred Beery in Texas regarding the asylum seeker Adrian Conejo Arias and his 5-year-old son, who seek nothing more than some modicum of due process and rule of law. That's one way to say it. Stephen Crowder has another way to say it.
A judge's job is to enforce the law, and at most to interpret the law as it is originally intended. They are supposed to act as a safeguard for the law, kind of autonomously from this idea of us being a pure democracy. There are people who know the law, and their job is to ensure that the law is practiced, administered fairly, objectively. The law requires civil detention for illegals claiming asylum. The judge called it a prison.
Oh, come on. That?
Yeah. There is, by the way, there is no credible asylum claim. There's no war in Ecuador. Okay, just so you know right now. I mean, if they do, it's like the food fight in Hook. Okay, right. It's not an actual war going on. There's no fleeing a persecutory government at this point. Just a bad economy, a country being worse than the United States is not grounds for asylum. And the left should understand, because they say that no country is worse off than the United States. All countries are equal. And so what happens now? Where does this lead us? Well, the judge's order created this habeas corpus petition for the man and his son, and that means the government now has to justify why they are detaining illegals. That's a problem. They're going to be staying here until this petition is resolved, and if the habeas petition is denied, then deportation can proceed. And of course, all those things should take place because it's the law. And what purpose do checks and balances serve if some rogue judge can just say, no, we actually don't have borders. We actually don't have an immigration process.
Good point, Lake Leon. Well, hell, they had to watch their back from all the crazy people. I know. It just, the arrests, they take so long. I know. It's tricky. But if two of them jumped in and made the arrest super fast, then they could get him cuffed and then turn their attention to the people. It's like they turn their attention to the people faster. And then it just takes so long, and it puts everyone at more risk, it seems like to me. But yeah, I mean, I totally take your point. Anyway, if a judge can simply decide we don't have borders or an immigration process, what even is a check and balance then? It's a good point. Nicki Minaj says, what sensible, forward-thinking, cutting-edge leading nation is having a debate on whether or not there should be voter ID? Like, they're actually fighting not to have people present ID while voting for your leaders? Do you get it? Do you get it now? 50 million views. Nicki Minaj is going to be important. Patriot Post shared this. When you claim voter ID laws are inherently racist, you really mean that you believe that minorities are too stupid to figure out how to get an ID, which underscores your own stupidity and racism. Stay classy, Democrats. Yeah, there's nothing about voter ID that's wrong. Mayra Flores says no one rioted for Irina Zarutska, and she was an immigrant. Wake up, America. You're being manipulated. It's time to stop the hate and the violence. I'm tired of the fake outrage and manipulation. Same here. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India. Wonderful speaking with my dear friend, President Trump today. Delighted that made in India products will now have a reduced tariff of 18%. Big thanks to President Trump on behalf the 1.4 billion people of India for this wonderful announcement. When two large economies and the world's largest democracies work together, it benefits our people and unlocks immense opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation. President Trump's leadership is vital for global peace, stability, and prosperity. India fully supports his efforts for peace. I look forward to working closely with him. So they've sort of, and President Trump said that they've removed tariffs. This whole tariff thing is very interesting. It's definitely worked out. Scott Adams would often talk about how President Trump would create something out of nothing. The tariffs, and you want to talk about motivation, you want to talk about policy, you want to talk about diplomacy, all of it. It's sort of a masterclass. Now I'm also waiting for the other shoe to drop where the deep state can try to tank the economy and say, look, Trump's tariffs did this. We're not out of the water. We're not out of the woods for that. Oh, Trump's policies did this. No, you've got no hope. It's the economy, stupid. And if these trends continue, I know there's already a near zero chance that Democrats could win the midterms, but if the economy stays strong, it would probably just be a zero chance. And they're desperate. The deep state Democrats are super desperate. They don't have much to offer. So good job sorting things out in India. Elected officials are in ICE chats, apparently. Minneapolis Teachers Union Chief Marcia Howard reveals that city officials participate in signal groups coordinating anti-ICE resistance activities, including vehicle patrols and license plate tracking. Guy Benson says, well, that's quite an admission. I'm sure we'll get demands for a full investigation, yes? Byron Donalds. He's got some thoughts about Hakeem Jeffries and their ineptitude.
Look, let me be very clear. Number one, Leader Jeffries sounds like a clown right now as far as I'm concerned. What he's saying is actually making no sense. The truth of the matter is that ICE has been trying to do their job. And if it wasn't for Democrat leaders who were fomenting an organized protest organization that was taking pictures of these officers, trying to dox these officers, trying to go after their families, all these things have occurred, then they wouldn't have to cover their faces to protect their identity and to protect their families. That's one. Number two, and let's also be very clear, I didn't hear Hakeem Jeffries say a damn thing when there were young women in America who were being raped and murdered by criminal illegal aliens that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and he led into the country with impunity. They said nothing, while House Republicans wanted something very simple, which was to secure the southern border once and for all. So if this is going to be the argument he wants to make, then I got a counter argument. Number one, we're going to continue with ICE doing their job under the Constitution. But number two, we're going to protect the vote of every American. We're not going to have situations like in California and other states where Democrats know that they have people voting in our elections with impunity just so Democrats can get some semblance of power in the United States of America. Look, let me be very...
Republicans with a 4-vote lead in the House. How could this be close? Come on. Pass the SAVE Act. Nobody's going to vote for Democrats. What is this? New York Times says how the Supreme Court secretly made itself even more secretive. Carrie Severino says the leak of the draft Dobbs opinion came from within the court, putting the lives of the justices and their families in grave danger. 3.5 years later, we have yet to identify and hold the leaker accountable. Chief Justice isn't making the court even more secretive. He's trying to ensure that an event of that magnitude does not happen again. Retired Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer says he did everything he could to stop the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Stephen Miller thinks that's the leaker. We shall see. Gavin Newsom, virtue signals to the verge of tears over a story about an illegal immigrant that he just made up. This is who they think is going to lead the Democrat Party.
Forgive me, but you can't spend time with real people and not feel their pain and not feel that trauma. Donald Trump doesn't understand that.
Doesn't.
He's never done that. He's never sat down with these folks. The recklessness, the impact across the spectrum, people that are scared. We talked to a community leader who literally sits on a board. Thank God a member of the board is a doctor because they couldn't convince a young woman here legally to go to the doctor. She had a medical condition. She was so scared of being racially profiled on her way to the doctor. She refused to go to the doctor. And they were giving me an example, telling me that story. I can give you story after story, and this was only an hour-and-a-half meeting. Dozens and dozens of examples. That's just here in your backyard in Chula Vista. Imagine what's going on across the rest of the United States. So this has just got to end.
Adam Carolla says his policies kill people, but don't worry, he cares deeply about everyone. Sherrod Brown says, I'm calling on Governor Mike DeWine and Senators John Husted and Bernie Moreno to put Ohio communities first and join my call to expand TPS for the Haitian community. As I travel the state, I hear the same thing that Governor DeWine has heard from Ohioans. They're concerned about their Haitian neighbors and about the economic impact. Who in the world is saying this? And the economic impact that the expiration of TPS for Haitian Americans will have on their communities. Yeah, Springfield was a story of a couple of plants, a couple of businesses, and they said they couldn't hire local. so they're importing their slaves. That's what this is about. You want people under the table working for peanuts or in sweatshops. Now, maybe they don't say that. Remember that Boston story we just played? And she says it's great having this Haitian immigrant staying in her house because it's like having a personal chef. You don't need to dig very deeply to see what's at the root of this. But that was a story in Springfield. I forget which company or companies it was, but they were saying that we can't find workers. Yeah, we'll pay better, train better, figure it out, employ Americans. Anyway, Sherrod Brown calls on administration to extend TPS for Ohio's Haitian community. Haitian Americans don't have a safe place to return to in Haiti. What? Our communities across Ohio depend on Haitians to help our local economy thrive? Based on what metrics are you using? Stephen Miller says, under what definition are Haitian illegal migrants flown here by the Biden administration and Ohio community? Make that make sense. Democrats just flatly reject any concept of nationhood that has ever existed in human history. Laura Ingram says, I think Sherrod Brown just lost his Senate race in Ohio. We shall see. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, says self-deporting makes life easy, especially when you and your family receive a $2,600 exit bonus and a free flight home. Self-deport today using the CBP Home app. Eric Daughtry says, an illegal alien family in Minnesota self-deports because they've had enough of ICE making them live in fear. Here is Segundo tearfully saying goodbye in Minneapolis before traveling to Ecuador with his wife and son. We replied saying the illegal alien invaders have had more than a year to take some cash, book the flight out, and then apply legally. America welcomes the best and brightest like a college admission exam. Learn English, prove your beliefs align with our Bill of Rights, don't steal, contribute. It's easy. And maybe it's not technically easy, but it is easy. What the Democrats did made everything difficult. And now they are trying to play the victim for the problem they created. It's diabolical, really. The Blaze put this out. Texas Democrat U.S. Senate candidate James Talarico claims the Bible is pro-choice.
But I say all this in terms of, in context of abortion, because before God comes over Mary and we have the incarnation, God asks for Mary's consent, which is remarkable. I mean, go back and read this in Luke. I mean, the angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. Let it happen. So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent. You cannot force someone to create. Creation is one of the most sacred acts that we engage in as human beings. But that has to be done with consent. It has to be done with freedom. And to me, that is absolutely consistent with the ministry and life and death of Jesus. And so that's how I come down on that side of the issue.
Kevin Sorbo says, for the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own likings and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander into myths. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3 and 4. That's a bold accusation there. Do you agree or disagree with that guy that God is pro-choice? That is bold. All right. Interesting quote here from GBN.
And have you always been a right-of-centre person, or are you a conservative? Where are you politically?
Have you always been a right-of-centre person? Where are you at politically?
Or are you a conservative? Where are you politically?
I would say that everyone starts off as a lefty and then wakes up at some point after you start either making money, working, trying to run a business, trying to buy a home, and then realize what crap ideas they all are. trying to buy a home and then realize what crap ideas they all are.
What crap ideas they all are. That's well said. Anti-ICE leftists in Minneapolis continuing to block the road with checkpoints, stopping cars, harassing people they think are ICE. Lives a TikTok says, send in the National Guard.
Well, that I don't know.
You're good.
Can I drive? I got a red light.
So now we need permission to drive from these people?
Why are they not all being arrested? Take this shit down immediately.
Can you back up slightly and go right?
Yeah, I could. If you'll leave, I'll go right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, well, that I don't.
Idiots. All right, here's the video. Ford Fisher just posted. ICE agents pull handguns and arrest observers who've been following around in the morning.
Hey, I need you to back up.
One gun here, one gun here, one gun here.
You need to back up.
And I told Ford directly, I go, you better be aware of where you're at in the line of fire here. Something could cross through that vehicle into you. I don't know where he's supposed to be, but man, it's just, ugh. I don't like that he has to keep putting himself in these situations.
Stay safe.
They're pointing handguns at the drivers in the vehicle right now.
Hey, get back. You guys need to stay back. You can record, but you gotta be back.
Get out. Hey, open your fucking door.
I need you to back up a little bit more.
In this, when it says open the, like, they need to have the tool that pops the window out fast. Like, that needs to be just on quick release. Too many extra seconds lead to someone saying, all right, I'm going to drive out of here. I'm going to resist. Like, just fast. Do the operation fast. Every extra second, just it increases the likelihood of something bad happening. I don't want to see anything bad happen. These people are idiots, but I don't want to see anything bad happen to them.
Hey, get back.
And I'm calling them idiots. If they're following around ICE all day, that's a stupid thing to be doing, but definitely not a death sentence. But, you know, every one of these instances could turn bad every single time.
Hey, get back.
Hey, get the fuck back.
Back. Hey, no, don't get on the road. Stay back over here. Okay. You guys can take pictures, you just need to stay back.
Every one of these stupid ICE tracking things could turn bad like those other two. And it's what the Democrats are hoping for. They're trying to whip up some sympathy.
I see your press. You're good.
Checking for ID. That's fine. I see you. I recognize you. Push your creds down. You're fine. If you got creds, pull them out. I got you.
Thank you.
Legitimate, please. Work for AB. Okay. So you know, these guys were all threatening us yesterday with handguns. So, these people are threatening you with handguns?
Yeah.
Handguns, like threatening.
We know.
So. Oh, you mean like with hand symbols? Pulling them out, trying to engage us. Pulling out literal guns? No. Assuming that we were going to do something. So that's why they're being ID'd right now.
All right, stay safe out there, Ford. Stay safe out there, ICE. Leftist stalkers. That's a good way to phrase it. Stalkers. Yeah, okay, so Grok the News. Yeah, Trump slashed India tariffs to 18% after they ditch Russian oil. So that was the crux of the India story. Lake Leon says, see, takes 2 people to arrest and 8 to 10 agents to keep other people back. Yep, I know. I do know that. I want to improve the process and speed it up. Easy for me to yap and, you should do this better. Then you could read me the man in the arena thing. It's not the critic that counts. It's the man who's in the arena, getting bloodied up, fighting it out. I get that. I do get that. I want it to be fast, efficient, and safe. Every second makes things infinitely more unsafe. Like, Leon, that's the problem I see. How many times does the agent have to tell the guy recording to get back? Stay out of the way. It's multiple people. And Ford goes around with these people, and they know who he is. He wears credentials. They don't worry about him. It's the other people around. He introduces, like, he makes it known. I'm here. I'm doing this. I got a long track record. I've got credentials to the White House. Like, I've done this background checks. Like, I've got a decade of experience. Like, I'm not something you need to worry about. I'm just going to be here. If you need something, let me know. But, like, look past me to the other people. I'm just doing this. Anyway, $500 billion in U.S. goods are now incoming to India. Clinton's cave on Epstein testimony. Iran is begging for talks. Amid Tehran chaos, Musk is creating the world's richest company overnight, and the shutdown rages on. All these stories happening today. So New York Post is reporting Bill and Hillary Clinton have agreed to sit for their depositions before the House Oversight Committee regarding ties to Epstein. GOPers remain skeptical of the Clintons' terms, insisting on unrestricted testimony. Remember this one. Don't ever forget. ABC had evidence of Bill Clinton and Epstein. They were threatened by the palace a million different ways, and the story was quashed.
Roberts, we would not put it on.
This is Amy Robach, ABC News anchor.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago. The creepy thing is that we would make access to all of these.
Yeah, back before Project Veritas turned stupid and kicked James O'Keefe out. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen exposing this Democrat shutdown scam. What is this all about?
ICE is still going to be funded for the next 3 or 4 years because of appropriations we put in on one big, beautiful bill. What it does shut down is FEMA. It shuts down Secret Service. It shuts down TSA, and it shuts down our Coast Guard. And so we're trying to get an impasse. President Trump has come out and said, listen, I'll work with Chuck Schumer. I'll work with the Democrats. I'll do what we can. But what the likely path is, Martha, is we'll probably end up having to spin off the 5 bills, which will fund roughly 97% of the government. And then we're trying to do at least a short-term CR for 2 to 4 weeks, possibly. We've asked for actually 6 weeks, and try to work out their differences here. It's ICE is still going to be funded for the next 3 or 4 years.
So if they're claiming it has anything to do with ICE being funded, it doesn't. But FEMA, Secret Service, no bueno. TSA and Coast Guard get hit. Yeah, this is dereliction of duty. Chuck Schumer yapping about this. Eric Daughtry put this out.
Short of workers, we have a population that is not reproducing it on its own.
This is an old clip, but this is where he's talking about the Great Replacement. He wants to replace Americans with non-Americans.
With the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here. Short of...
Yeah. This is not just now. But just now he announces a prolonged government shutdown if Republicans attach voter ID and citizenship verification to the funding bill. He cheats. He knows they cheat, and he's terrified. Pummel Chuck by nuking the filibuster, force the SAVE Act through. This is Schumer previously admitting his plan. Our ultimate goal gets citizenship for 11 million or however many 40 million undocumented illegal alien invaders there are. No thanks. Uncommon Sense gives Peter Schiff some credit here about the shutdown.
Peter, what's having the most impact on gold right now? Is it tariff uncertainty? Is it the government shutdown? Is it interest rates? Is it the risk out there generally? Is it central banks who are hoarding gold?
Well, it's a lot of things. And first of all, the problem with the government is not that it might shut down, but that it's going to continue to operate. The U.S. government is the biggest reason that gold is at a new all-time record high. The dollar today, the dollar index is at a 4-year low. Against the Swiss franc, the U.S. dollar is at an all-time record low today. Consumer confidence just plunged to a 12-year low. And as you said, gold is at an all-time record high. So, Trump is trying to sell the U.S. economy as, the hottest in the world. But according to consumers and investors, it is the coldest in the world.
Peter.
Well, there you go. Keep your eyes peeled on the economy. Yeah, Rhino Mullen. Yeah, Mark Wayne Mullen has really upset a lot of people lately. Lake Leon says Hillary will off Bill. Oh, do not be surprised. Breaking news out of Arkansas today. Former President Bill Clinton. Do not be surprised. Marion says, I bet the Clintons will plead the fifth. Marion also says, I like how they say that, or however many illegals are here. Yep, if anyone snuck in, you should be rewarded. No, you don't get rewarded for sneaking in and breaking in. No, you do not. Americans need to have American children, period. People that grow up with similar values, similar ideas, similar education, similar standards, similar beliefs, similar constitutional moorings. That's how you're strong. Unity, being on the same page. Rasmussen reports here says 75% of people vote. 75% of people support voter ID laws, including 69% of Black Americans and 82% of other non-white voters. Whoa. 82% of other non-white voters, non-Black, non-white. 60% also say laws requiring photo ID at the polls don't discriminate, including 43% of Black and 57% of other non-white voters. No ID is for cheating and inflating the popular vote. Yeah.
It was so racial.
What is this? This woman on CNN? Just for no good reason, let's defend O.J. Simpson today?
But it was so
Trump hush money trial. No, wait, this is older then, but still.
racially charged because of what had happened just before with Rodney King, but also just how Black Americans feel about policing. It's not like O.J. Simpson was the leader of the civil rights movement of his era. You know, he wasn't a social justice leader, but he represented something for the Black community in that moment, in that trial, particularly because there were 2 white people who had been killed, and the history around how Black people have been persecuted.
Persecuted. Has it been claimed that white people have been persecuted and butchered at super high levels from the hands of Black Americans over the past couple hundred years? Her concern is that 2 dead white Americans might be a problem for the guy that did it. Not a concern about the 2 dead white Americans at the hands of a Black man. Her concern is that, well, This might cause a problem for the black man who did this. Okay, that is a bold twist.
Black community in that moment, in that trial, particularly because there were 2 white people who had been killed, and the history around how black people have been persecuted.
The history around the racial discrimination, when you look at the numbers, how often are black people killed at the hands of whites? How often are whites killed at the hands of blacks? Compare those 2 numbers. She's not doing that.
During slavery, there were just so many layers.
Now you're talking in the 1880s, 1860s.
And I guess I would just close with this, is that there was racial tension then, there is racial tension now. It might not be the backdrop of the Trump campaign, but until this country is ready to actually have an honest conversation about
what?
The racial dynamics from our origin story till today.
Yeah, there are far too many white Americans being killed by black Americans. There's far too many black Americans being killed by black Americans. If you look at the people who murder in this country, look at the demographics there. Let's have a full, honest conversation about that.
We will always have moments like O.J. Simpson that manifest, and our country will always be divided if we don't actually deal with the issue of race. But
the issue of race is a one-sided hit piece. It's a constant baseball bat to bludgeon people over the head with, nonstop. Let me just ask Grok, since I brought it up and I don't have stats. Am I doing percentage or number? Number of white Americans killed by blacks in the past year compared to black Americans killed by whites in the same period. Now, obviously, it's not the same number of people, but let's see what the numbers say. According to Grok, looking up FBI, Reuters, BJS, Grok is searching the web, finding no data. Blacks make up 13% of the U.S. population, I believe. Expanded homicide rate, searching the web. Come on, Grok, you got to be faster than this to make... Come on. All right. Well, estimating recent figures. Browsing FBI Crime Data Explorer for 24 or 23. They're doing the best they can. Okay. Grok, please. I'm just trying to make a point here. And you're... Jamie, can you pull up... number of white Americans killed by blacks in the past year compared to black Americans killed by whites in the same period? Because there's one group that is heavily targeted and abused these days, and it's whites. And it has been that way for decades, with racist DEI discrimination policies for decades. And the amount of violence, well, maybe it's not one-sided, but it's lopsided. Okay, Grok, give me a number. It's only going to get back to number of white Americans killed by black offenders, 566. Number of black Americans killed by white offenders, less than half of that, 246. And that's coming from only 13% of the population. So the majority of the country in America being white, that group has not butchered black people at all. But 13% of Americans have killed 566 white Americans. So I don't know how she's selectively picking and choosing which stats she wants to use. But by the way, total white victims, 3,300. 70, almost 80% killed by whites. 18% by blacks. Total black victims, 2,900, roughly the same number of victims. And only 8.5%, that's less than half of the blacks who killed whites, only 8.5% were killed by whites. 90%, 88.5%, killed by blacks. Vast majority of homicides are interracial within the same race. And that's consistent across the years. And these are absolute numbers. Per capita rates differ due to population size. Whites make up 60% of U.S. population. Blacks only 13%. So I don't know what this lady's getting at. I don't get the point at all. But why is CNN addicted to stupidity? I don't know. Professor at Ojibwe at Bemidji State in Minnesota had students openly mock the famous flag raising by U.S. Marines on Iwo Jima with Somali-inspired Minnesota state flag. Yeah. We say remove that terrible flag. That just shows that your state's been conquered by Somali pirates, and restore the state flag of Minnesota. They are a conquered state. Mom Donnie is being slammed for terrible results during the New York City storm.
And Sean, this wasn't a test. This is prime time now. This wasn't something like COVID where no one saw it was coming. The forecast had already told us it takes about 30 minutes to an hour to get frostbite or hypothermia. So while he was parading around doing press conference in this custom jacket, they did a profile piece on that, by the way, Sean. Everybody was talking about the custom jacket. He did no planning at all. And now you got people that are dead as a result of it. The city looks a mess. You can't even get the snow removed off the sidewalk. Trash everywhere. The city was a dump before this, Sean, and it's only getting worse. This is not a test. This is game time. And as we know, Sean, he wasn't prepared.
I don't find it shocking this guy's not prepared. Highly unqualified to take this position. What's this? Another comrade talks about this. Laura Ingram says, wow, listen to communists reflecting on their signal chats being exposed in Minnesota. They're super dumb. I'll just take their word for it. This guy, what's his name? FTYE 1091. I don't know. This guy's always eating and making interesting observations.
So in America, if you cheat to get into college, you can go to jail. But if you cheat to get into America, you can go to college for free. If you see a bulge in a conservative woman's pants, it's a gun. If you see a bulge in a liberal woman's pants, well... Okay, your GPA is fantastic. Your SAT scores are off the charts, and the charity you started, unbelievable. There's just one problem. You're a straight white male. Perfect. Thank you. Enjoy.
Yep. That is the type of discrimination I'm talking about. That's actually real, and you've been laughed at and mocked and ridiculed for pointing that out for decades, but we can finally talk about it openly.
Thank you. If gun-free zones work, why don't we set up rape-free zones?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
I have depression, anxiety disorder, and I'm confused about what gender I am. But you should definitely listen to me about how to fix this country. If you're still wearing a COVID mask in 2024, you probably shouldn't be allowed to vote.
That guy must eat out every night. Well, Janine Pirro tried to walk back her comments, says, let me be clear, I'm a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. Washington, D.C. law requires handguns to be licensed in the district with the Metro Police Department to be carried into our community. We are focused on individuals who are unlawfully carrying guns and will continue building on that momentum to keep our communities safe. Libertarian Party of Tennessee says free people don't ask permission from the government to exercise their constitutional rights. And we said, no, Judge Janine, it is way past time for concealed carry, open carry, constitutional carry reciprocity all over the United States. Your awful comment yesterday was an embarrassment. Push to get constitutional carry everywhere to atone for your foolish remarks. I'm hitting her hard. She's earned it. Here's a report outside the Super Bowl. Look at this. They've taken out advertisements. Defensive Player of the Year, ICE.
A new digital billboard at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco is evoking mixed reactions.
It made me sick to my stomach.
Ooh, it made me sick to my stomach that we'd protect our country from invasion.
It's an ad that shows
Can't win without a good defense, and neither can America. ICE.
support for ICE.
They have a job to do, too. That's it. You know, I don't have a problem with them.
The billboard reads, Defensive Player of the Year, ICE. A group that calls itself American Sovereignty is behind the billboard. We tried to reach out to them to learn more about their motivation, but have not been able to reach anyone.
I'm worried for my neighbors.
Your neighbors might not be American citizens.
I'm worried for what is happening.
What's happening is an invasion led by the Democrat deep state.
And I'm worried to see it escalating here.
You're worried to see Democrats push for violence because they don't have a popular opinion. And that's what the Democrat track record is. You should be worried about your Democrat escalation.
With the Super Bowl just days away, these concerned community members say they're doing something every day to get their message out. A new digital...
I think the ads are great. What do you think? Do you like the ads? More, please. Guy Benson says a Harvard-Harris poll says overwhelming supermajority of Americans oppose the lawless, chaotic, dangerous sanctuary policies that have protected criminal illegal immigrants and fueled the mob violence and criminality in places like Minneapolis. Enough. This is basic common sense. We say it's time to demolish the Democrat domestic terrorist organization. They are not a legitimate party, not a legitimate political party. 67-33. That's 2-1. It's about as bold as you could get it. Michael Holmstrom says 2 days ago, police asked the checkpoint thugs to leave. The mob mocked them and MPD just left. Now the mob is acting as their own corrupt version of law enforcement. MPD's inaction embolden this, and city leaders ignore or deny this reality. Someone is going to get hurt.
What can we do to hurry this up? Because we have fire trucks and ambulances that might need to get through here.
They can come
and
through here.
You're talking about the community, and we're talking about making sure that your neighbors can get access to emergency services.
City buses have been easily passing, so I suspect.
And we're all here. When they come, we'll move it for them, you know?
Why is there a debate about this and not a removal and an arrest of everybody there?
Frankly, you're the one blocking it right now.
Insanity. You do not negotiate.
You're driving with swapped plates on their cars. Why aren't you ticketing them? They've got swapped plates on their cars. That's not legal in Minnesota.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
But you look for ice next time.
Yeah.
Good talk.
Jacob, he sent us here.
You don't coddle this. You stop this. And yes, MPD's in action embolden this. City leaders ignore or deny the reality, and someone's going to get hurt. Chuck Schumer. The SAVE Act would impose Jim Crow-style restrictions on voting. What an asshole. What a race-baiting piece of shit. Mike Lee says if ID checks are Jim Crow, then so are Democratic national conventions where delegates are required to produce ID to get in. So are the following institutions, among many others: labor union conventions, the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys, banks, pharmacies, hospitals, airports, hotels, gun shops, casinos, schools, Social Security, DMVs, casinos, employers. IDs prevent fraud in finance, health, and the Democrat Party, and so much more. Voter ID does the same for elections. Calling ID requirements Jim Crow is absurd and insulting to the American people, who overwhelmingly agree that we need to take a few simple steps to make our elections secure. So what really worries you about the Save America Act and its voter ID requirements, huh? Unreal. I don't want to give him a heart. I'll give Mike Lee a heart. Voter ID is not controversial.
And the American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here. Favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote. And the American
I agree with Nicki Minaj. Yeah, Colin Wright talked about that Billie Eilish thing. You cannot simultaneously believe that all borders are fake and should not be policed, and that land can be stolen. This is one of the most brainwashed beliefs a person can hold. I think this is a different part of this same CNN poll.
Take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it.
Why isn't it the same number, though?
So the bottom line is...
I mean, it's all north of 75%, 3 out of 4.
This. Voter ID is not controversial in this country.
No. What's controversial is anybody trying to get you to be stupid.
A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote. So,
okay. There you go. That's sort of what I wanted to get. Oh, I guess I'll leave it with you on this one. This is a fun note there. But let's, okay, maybe a couple other ones. Lives a TikTok says there's an epidemic of radical left-wing nurses promoting violence against conservatives and ICE agents. Multiple radical nurses have been fired. Others had their licenses revoked. Read their stories here. Florida nurse fired after wishing serious birth complications on Carolyn Levitt, no longer allowed to practice nursing. Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh talks about the 45-year cycle yesterday. Shocked to hear him admit that we're entering a new economic system, saying this is our Reagan moment. They never admit stuff like this unless it's underway. Be prepared. Common sense extremist says Ronald Reagan said anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American. 40 years later, a man born in Bangladesh named Saddam is given political office and now is attempting to ban guns in Virginia. So there's that. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. I know I have a few more stories. Wall Street Apes reports this. This is the 18% of the whole country's home health care billing is coming out of LA County. That's what I was trying to reference earlier.
One doctor billed the government $120 million in a single year, claiming to oversee 1,900 patients. With almost 2,000 hospice agencies, LA County has more than 36 states combined, and 30 times more than either Florida or New York.
18% of the whole country's home healthcare billing,
1 in 5, 20%,
is coming out of Los Angeles County. How is that possible?
And take a look at this map, a cluster of 287 hospice providers in a 2-mile radius, some in strip malls, unmarked buildings, even a wrecking yard and vacant lot.
All of it is just paperwork. I could fill that out in Kazakhstan if I want and get a hospice license waiting for me.
One doctor billed the government.
Shut it all down. Insane levels of fraud, says Elon. Representative Maria Elvira Salazar introduces the Dignity Act to allow illegals to stay in the U.S. if they succeeded in illegally being here for 5 years or more. Why would you reward an illegal for evading capture for 5 years? Nick Searcy says this is a plant in the Republican Party. She's here to destroy America just as much as any Democrat. Right angle shows a disturbing trend. Leftist teachers guiding very young children, some no older than kindergarten, in protests against ICE and President Trump. Greg Gutfeld says this is the conveyor belt to madness. We need moms more than ever to take the lead against this. David Kate showing that.
Organizers, without the music, without the bullhorns, without all of these people coming together and
Right now what they're doing is they're loading their trucks to leave out of here after they finish with the protest. None of the protests that you see that happen immediately after something happens, which is all the time now, wouldn't be possible. What's behind me is a combination of Party for Socialism and Liberation. We have Democrat Socialists of America here as well, and a couple very loose communist organizations like Revolutionary Communists for America. None of the protests that you
Revcoms, they were the ones that burned the flag, I believe, in D.C. on Inauguration Day.
see are
I filmed and put out there.
organic. They're well organized, and because they're well organized, that means they're well funded through various campaigns, whether it's foreign influence campaigns or it could be even Democrat campaigns. So this is how it all happens. If you've ever
Yep. Yeah, this was Ketanji Brown Jackson cheering and applauding. Our media thinks, oh, I played you this yesterday. But yeah. Standing ovations for celebrities saying the country's on stolen land. Okay. All right, I got two things to end on. One is Billy Bob Thornton, and then the other is a humorous thing. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Please remember we have Rumble, rants, and super chats available. Thank you, Patriot Warrior. Appreciate you earlier today, dropping a 50 spot. That's appreciated. That's 2/3 of a tank of gas. Appreciate you. Yeah, consider signing up for Patreon account, monthly subscription to Rumble or YouTube, as well as Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, all scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, Marion says, fraud, and more fraud. Stop it now. I asked why were the numbers different, and you said it's because the Democrats have been trying to tell the black population for years that having an ID is racist. It's the dumbest statement any Democrat can make. You're not a serious person if you repeat that. You're just not a serious person. So, all right, here's Billy Bob Thornton talking about Hollywood and
that has thrown you in jail, you know. But there's something about having heroes that are unattainable for you. That way they can stay in that magic spot. So I think we've lost magic and mystery and all these things.
Well, it certainly happens when you hear actors talk about politics. Mm-hmm. When actors become activists, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Oy. Oy.
I donate to a lot of charities, mainly children's stuff, but nobody knows it. I don't go to the award show and talk about it when I'm getting my award. It's like Ricky Gervais said in that skit of his. You know, he said, "Look, you know, come up here, accept your little award, and fuck off."
Yeah.
You know, I think first of all, unless you have really studied stuff and really know about a subject fully, who the hell would want to listen to an actor or a musician talk about politics? You know what I mean? It's like, are we supposed to follow this? I mean, if we are, what if they lead you down the wrong road? And, you know, and politically, I call myself a radical moderate. I'm like very strong in my opinions. But my opinions don't belong to any political party. And, you know, I just look at what makes sense. And I think we need a common sense party in this country. That's actually what I think we need.
Yeah.
It's just figure it out. It's pretty easy to figure out what this is all about, you know.
A non-ideologically captured party.
That is.
Yeah. All right. We'll end it on this moment of Zen. Let me find it. Oh, one more story. Leftists occupying the lobby of Trump Tower in New York City. The hell takes police so long to respond?
To Palestine!
Palestine. What are we doing?
General strike! Now's the time!
You're not allowed to be here.
And this administration, so that all of us remember what.
Nick Sorter says Trump Tower is a massive target. Cops should be close enough to shut this BS down within 30 seconds. What the hell takes police so long to respond?
is being done by Donald Trump, ICE, and this regime.
Have to die! Team Swan Ben!
How many more?
works. We'll end on this moment of Zen. Mustang Man put this up. This protest has a brilliant Trump impersonator just absolutely brutally trolling the protesters over a loudspeaker. Now, maybe it's over a loudspeaker, or maybe it's dubbed after the fact. I don't entirely know. But it is kind of funny. It is your moment of Zen. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show, invite a friend. Here we go.
Attention, please, attention. If you're a crazy, liberal, ugly woman, otherwise known as Crazy Karens, please go back home and annoy your husbands instead of our beautiful ICE officers. Although when you think about it, you probably don't have a husband because you're fat and ugly and annoying, and nobody will ever marry you. I know you're all wearing pajamas, but this would be a nice moment to maybe start with a little jog around the block so you can lose some of that weight and maybe think about some of those life decisions where everything went wrong. Anyway, if you keep fucking around with that guy, you're going to get pepper sprayed, bitch. So please just, well, there you go, bitch. You kept fucking around and now you found out. Believe me.
It sounded like it was dubbed. I don't think it was really happening because nobody was paying attention. Now, blocking the road. Stupid,
attention.
Stupid, stupid. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, everybody. Yeah, you're right. Where's the security of Trump Tower? I know they have it. I guess all you need is 5 minutes to get your point across. It's the professional outrage protest industrial complex. It's so dumb. And I do have unreleased footage from some places that I haven't put out. Let me put it on my to-do list and maybe I'll look at it. Post unreleased videos. I do have some sitting in the can, as they say. Things that I would just need to edit and put out there. So stay tuned. Oh, that was Sean? That did sound like Sean. Farah, I think that's his name. Well, huzzah to him, because that's a funny impersonation. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here today as we unpacked the news. We'll be here tomorrow at noon or noon-ish. I know. Oh, the to-do list. I know. JB, can you start knocking off some of the stuff on my to-do list? Oh, wait. I don't have a Jamie. I'm Jamie. Hi, I'm Jamie. Nice to meet you. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll be back tomorrow. Signing out. Until then, I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Have the best Tuesday you've had all week. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.